This is one of Cluny the Scourge's Rome Total War online battles. I am playing as Armenia. I've taken 6 units of archers deployed on loose formation in front of a line of 4 units of heavy spearmen. Now, unusually for me when using phalanx troops, I've spread them very thin. Thin ranks means that fighting against other spearmen or infantry they'd be less effective. However, since my opponent is playing as Britannia, I'm expecting only light barbarian infantry and perhaps chariots, and I anticipate that a thin line of infantry should be sufficient to hold those off. I've also taken 6 units of cataphracts. Now my opponent, Scuteny, has taken 6 units of slingers, with 6 units of head hurlers in another line behind them. They're all on loose formation for protection against missiles. He's taken 2 units of light chariots, deployed on his right, my left, and 5 units of barbarian warlords, very powerful chariots, with a massive 5 hit points each. In a head-to-head missile duel, I anticipate that my archers will defeat his slingers, which have a shorter range. Therefore, it would make sense for him to try to occupy the attention of my archers by using light chariots on Cantabrian Circle. It's much harder to hit them when they're on Cantabrian Circle, to give him time to bring his slingers within range, which is exactly what he does. It's what I would have done. Now I'm trusting on my archers being able to skirmish backward quickly enough behind those spearmen if my opponent makes a rush at them with his chariots. That would be ideal for me. They make a tempting target for such a charge, since the archers would break almost instantly in the face of the frightened by chariots morale effect. I hurry my formation forward so that my missiles can begin dealing out some death to his slingers, and very shortly I'm going to make my major blunder, which almost brings about very hasty defeat. I decide to mass all of my cataphracts and then send them out to confront the light chariots, reasoning that since they're on Cantabrian Circle they won't be able to skirmish backward quickly enough to evade me. Indeed they can't. However, my opponent promptly sends his barbarian warlords in, and chariots gain a hefty combat bonus when fighting against cavalry, and combined with the generic effect of chariot fear, he crushes my cataphracts in one blow, stripping my cavalry away and successfully neutralizing just over half of my entire denarii for this battle. All is not lost, however. He is so centered on crushing my cavalry in this way that he pays no heed to this unit of heavy spearmen that I have peeled away from the main line and rushed in to support my cavalry. Now, if chariots get caught up on a unit of spearmen, then they will charge into the phalanx, and each unit will die instantly the moment that it touches the spears. And that, conveniently enough, is just what has happened to the enemy general. An ignominious end for such a fearsome warrior, and many of his brother charioteers and warlords follow. I'm not really sure what 5 barbarian warlords are doing fighting together in one army. I suppose that all the various tribes of Britannia have united together to defeat the loathsome Armenians, whose rivalry with the ancient Britons is of course of great renown. Here you see my opponent foolishly throws away yet more charioteers, charging into a formation of heavy spearmen, because he places too heavy a reliance upon the superiority of those chariots, and because also of an element which undoes many players, which is the driving compulsive psychological need for momentum. Having gained such a great advantage by destroying my cataphracts, he's in an urgent hurry to finish me off. He wants to make sure I don't recover my balance, the basic interrelated realities of how units confront one another in Rome Total War, and suffers accordingly. He does finally, through sheer numbers and by bringing me down to just a few men left, rout that unit. He tries a charge against my archers, and consequently this unit of chariots too is going to be destroyed by heavy spearmen just presently. Perhaps he felt that was worth the sacrifice, because right now, with all those head hurlers he still has available, if he can manage to knock out enough of my archers which are the main means I have to defend against them, then he could win this battle by simply drowning me in severed heads. I've done plenty of damage to his slingers already. As you can see, the opponent has foolishly allowed some of his head hurlers to come within reach of my heavy spearmen, and I'm doing more damage than he needs to allow me to do. By now the battle has broken up, splintered and fragmented into the most extraordinarily confused and chaotic, anarchic jumble of units. Head hurlers, slingers, archers, and badly damaged units of heavy spearmen are scattered higgledy-piggledy with no kind of order or arrangement, which means that neither of us have any kind of mobile striking power. I can chase him futilely with my heavy spearmen if I like, but on skirmish mode I won't catch them. However, that will prevent them from firing for as long as it takes for them to skirmish backward, out of range, and attempt to reload and fire again on the pursuing unit, which buys my archers more time to rain their particular brand of death down upon the opposing missile units. Here you see the final regrouped unit of chariots making a useless charge against spearmen again instead of trying to destroy my archers, which is what they should be doing, since they are the real threat to the remainder of the British force, the slingers and the head hurlers, and he wastes them. Slingers and head hurlers both have considerably shorter range even than regular archers. That's my main surviving advantage here. He has superior numbers, however. And the regrouped chariots that you just saw before come back and try again, and are knocked out by the concerned by number of enemy effect created against enemy morale the moment you have a localized, overwhelming numerical superiority. And now that both of our armies have had our major striking capabilities neutralized, the remainder of the battle boils down to a slow, steady and rather wearisome engagement between my missile troops and his, as we each attempt to wear one another down. Naturally I put my remaining heavy spearmen on loose formation to minimize the capability of my opponent to damage them and hopefully cause them to waste missiles against them. I use my heavy spearmen as bait for his head hurlers in the hope that he will waste his ammunition on them, all the while under fire from my archers. And I make occasional localized movements with my heavy spearmen threatening to left or to right against his head hurlers to prevent some of them from being able to fire at me if they want to remain out of melee engagement while on skirmish mode. This enables me, as you see there, to concentrate my fire against the rest of them and cause them to rout. But tiresomely, although they keep routing, they also keep regrouping again and again, so I just have to be persistent with the same tactics: distracting, firing, chasing, wearing down. When I allowed one heavy spearman unit here, as you saw, to move too far away from the rest of my troops, my opponent was able to head hurl them from both sides and cause them to rout. But with the demise of his chariots, he too no longer has the means to pursue routed units any more than I do, and those heavy spearmen are going to regroup. When the British get desperate and try a charge by head hurlers into my missile troops, I simply bring my heavy spearmen to bear, put them in phalanx mode. Heavy spearmen can actually fight in phalanx on loose formation, as you see there, and they are punished severely. Now, as all this is unfolding, it gets me thinking, where exactly do the British tribesmen get all of these heads that they throw at their opponents? Is it part of British death rights, that when someone dies their head is removed and then put aside into the national arsenal for use on the battlefield? Is a special collection of severed heads started for every child from the moment they're born? Or are the British condemned to eternally wage war by the compelling need to keep fighting another battle in order to find more severed heads to replenish their stocks of ammunition? There may be room for some historical academic to write a paper on that particular subject. I recommend it. In any case, in this battle we see that even a catastrophic mistake by myself with my cataphracts can be reversed by an excess of zeal by this part of my opponent in wishing to finish me off too quickly. wasting his chariots, and I won the battle.